It's an excellent solution to both Delver Secrets and Tarmogoyf,
Right.
Since it can't be countered in any way. However, Ryan's going to be relying on his Nimble Mongooses and Tarmogoyfs of his own to actually handle his opponents.
Right, and I definitely like Ryan's deck in this matchup
Yeah.
just because of those abrupt decays. It can even kill the Sylvan Library in Joey Andrews' deck.
That's worth noting. The Sylvan Library innovation Brad Nelson brought to the table in Todd Anderson's invitational winning Rug Delver deck.
So it looks like Joey won the play, and we'll start with a fetch land into a dual land.
Good read.
Ah, thank you. You know, I was helped by the land section.
Yeah.
0 basics versus 0 basics.
Volcanic Island means we're probably going to see a Delver of Secrets here, although we may see something like a Ponder.
Delver, of course, the best turn 1 for the Rug Delver deck.
Ooh, nothing. Just fetch, pass. I guess we're just playing around Stifle if we've seen our opponent play over the course of the tournament.
Right.
That's a wise choice.
Not unreasonable. Both players packing 4 Stifle.
Yep. Stifle in the tempo decks has become sort of industry standard once again. It's gone in and out of favor, but it's very nice in a lot of matchups. Against Maverick, it is oddly useful as a way to help you wrangle stuff like Mother of Runes and Knight of the Reliquary. So.
Yep. What would you say is the defining format factor, whether or not Stifle's good?
That's a good question. I've always kind of liked it. You just have to, the decks where it has niche functionality basically can't be dominating the metagame because that's where you get into trouble. Right now, with Tempo at the top, Stoneforge Mystic decks are also very popular, Maverick's very popular, and Combo, like these are all decks that Stifle's reasonably live against at all times. So.
Okay. So going back to the match, we have Ryan Forsberg resolving a Wasteland on a volcanic island, but not before Joey Andrews uses that blue mana to Brainstorm. So this is Ryan Forsberg's main phase.
Yep. What Ryan would really probably like here is another Delver.
Yeah, that would be great for him. Thoughtseize would be good too.
Or we just played a Wasteland, didn't we? Yeah. Let's not get overeager.
2
Another
Wastelands.
Delver it is. Well, Joey, hopefully that Brainstorm is good, because you're going to need the lands. Oh, we're going to change up that second card after we drew the other one, which was another Brainstorm, incidentally.
Oh, wow. Okay, so Lightning Bolt. Joey Andrews taking a nice shortcut there, getting the volcanic.
Yeah, these tempo matches can really drag on. You want to conserve the clock.
Right, exactly. That was sort of the problem we saw earlier. A lot of players, they don't think about their shuffling. They don't think about their plays. They really just let the clock run out on them. And Joey, still no creatures.
Well, we've got that Wasteland. I imagine we'll use it. We may Brainstorm first, but...
Yep, maybe trying to hit a fetch land.
Spell Pierced. Well, I guess that'll learn us. Yeah, we may have wanted to just lead the Wasteland. Our opponent knows that we have it, so it's not like we're playing around Stifle, basically, by Brainstorming. Like, if he really wants to stifle the Wasteland, he's just going to stifle the Wasteland, and that's
Right.
going to be his play.
Right. So what do you think Ryan's logic was with the first Wasteland on the volcanic, second Wasteland on the Trop?
I don't know, honestly. I think because he had the second Delver, he thought he might be able to lock his opponent out of red in order to avoid Lightning Bolt. But at this juncture, once 2 Delvers are down, he only has 2 Delvers left in his deck that are vulnerable to Lightning Bolt, and he's already seen 2 Lightning Bolts. Those are the red cards, right? So
Right.
I guess shifting gears to go after the green lands just makes sense.
Right. So Sylvan Library, Force of Will, and Ryan will follow up with a Brainstorm.
Yep, and it looks like it's Ponder, Tarmogoyf.
Wow.
As Brainstorms go, pretty good.
Not bad. He won't be cracking that fetch land for another turn, that's
No.
for sure.
I imagine we'll draw the 1 Ponder, and then we'll just play a Tarmogoyf. We may hold it, perhaps Ponder to try and get through a Daze, if we have to worry about that card.
Right. Usually, though, Daze is almost always going to be live in this matchup, even in the really late turns of the game. Almost impossible to avoid getting a spell dazed.
I also think we would have certainly dazed Brainstorm rather than Spell Pierced it if we had a Daze.
Right.
So unless Joey's drawn it over the last couple turns, he probably doesn't have one. If I were Ryan, I would jam my Tarmogoyf here. It's not a very realistic fear to play around the Daze.
No, exactly. And then that puts you in the spot, okay, do I really even want to draw a land? If so, I don't shuffle, but then that's a blank draw, and I definitely like jamming it in.
So our Tarmogoyf should be creature, instant, land, enchantment, 4/5. We don't have a Ponder in the graveyard yet, but we certainly will next turn, so that'll bring him up to 5/6, unless I miss something.
No, that sounds right.
We're going to tap Underground Sea to Ponder because we have a Nimble Mongoose, it looks like, in our hand.
Ponder will resolve, boosting the Tarmogoyf. Looks like fetch, daze, and another card. He'll draw the daze.
Draw the daze. He knows Joey's stuck on 2 mana, so the daze is actually protection against a Tarmogoyf of Joey's own, stabilizing the board.
Right.
Which would stabilize it very much in his favor. Right now, Ryan is sort of racing a Nimble Mongoose and a Delver.
Definitely a favorable race for him,
Yeah.
unless that Delver flips.
Right. So it's basically like kind of half a favorable race.
Good old Delver of Secrets.
Nimble Mongoose, brick walling the other Nimble Mongoose.
Yep. Wow, now I'm not a big fan of this Brainstorm by Joey Andrews. The end of turn.
I am hoping it's in response to Nimble Mongoose, because that way we could generate value off hitting a daze of our own.
Right.
But Ryan may be considering dazing it himself after he puts a die here. I think it'd be fine to daze the Brainstorm. Your opponent's not generating much value off of it, but the daze's value could very easily go down after this Brainstorm resolves.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially since you wait so long to think about it. That's a pretty big tell that you have daze.
Yep.
So the longer you wait, the more you have to use the daze, and indeed he does.
I think that's fine. Also worth noting is that the Brainstorm would certainly have set up Delver to flip. Oh, I mean, I can't imagine it wouldn't have, so.
Right. So both Nimble Mongoose back to block.
Yeah. What Ryan wants here is just more. Yep, Ponder. And Spell Pierced. Okay.
And now the Mongoose will crash in.
I imagine we'll just swing with everything here if we swing with anything. There's not really a lot of value to holding back. Our Tarmogoyf would trade for a Nimble Mongoose, but we would get in 3 damage. I think we probably don't attack. I don't think I... Yeah.
I think I like attacking with just the Nimble Mongoose because that makes Joey...
That's fair.
Yeah.
I like that line, actually. Yeah, I approve of that. That does make Joey trade down to just 1 Mongoose, which can no longer successfully block Tarmogoyf. So basically right now he's trading, taking 2 less damage for keeping his board position.
Right.
Force of Will is not the ideal 1 card to draw, but it will flip a Delver of Secrets and allow Joey to begin racing. He's at 10, but his deck has Lightning Bolts and Ryan's does not, although he only has 2 left.
And Ryan has Thoughtseize, which is a really bad draw at this stage of the game.
Yeah. I think Joey wants to probably draw something like Fire and Ice into Lightning Bolt, right? Like Fire Ice on the Tarmogoyf, crash in for 9.
Yeah, Fire Ice is definitely where he wants to start. That's the card he most wants to draw here.
Meanwhile, Ryan has access to Dismember, 2 Ghastly Demise, and 3 Abrupt Decays, all pretty live to keep Joey from even, continuing this bad race.
Right. Oh, and a Tarmogoyf
That's
for Joey.
another game changer.
Yep.
Now the board is in Joey's favor, and he'll be able to crack through for lethal relatively soon. Fire and Ice at this point is actually just the game for all intents and purposes.
A little more complicated.
Oh, and we're back to 3 damage a turn for 1 player.
Yep. And this is exactly how these Delver mirrors look. It's just, they're so attrition-y, they're so grindy, and they often just come down to 1 card.
Man, why did he get to resolve all those spells? What a jerk. Rah, rah, rah. I should have just played Storm.
So yeah, definitely, I think you should definitely tap the green here for this Brainstorm.
Yep.
If he casts it all.
If we were going to cast it, I imagine we would want to cast it before the fetch land, probably,
Right.
but I guess it doesn't really matter, because if you draw another fetch land, which you want anyway.
Maybe he wants to play around Spell Pierce, but I think Joey has already used 2 of them.
Yeah.
Most decks don't run 4.
And if he can Spell Pierce the Ghastly Demise, you're in bad shape anyway. You don't want to go to 6 in this
Right.
spot.
Right. Even though there are only 2 Lightning Bolts left, these Delver mirrors, they last a long time. You usually see at least 3 of them if you want to, with all the Ponders and etc. Brainstorms.
The primary issue, for me at least, is that the board will just be completely stalemated, even if he, Ghastly Demised and then got it through a Spell Pierce or whatever.
Right.
And that's not a great position to be in, because the other deck just probably has more threats than you.
More threats and also potentially better top decks in the form of Lightning Bolt.
Yep.
So Ryan puts 2 back, and oh, he does draw the Demise.
Yep.
He found it.
Ghastly Demise on Tarmogoyf, and now, what shall we do?
Well, Ryan can deduce that Joey doesn't have a blue spell in his hand. He almost definitely would have pitched that to the Force of Will. So, he didn't play Tarmogoyf, he didn't play Mongoose. It's almost definitely a land.
If you attack with everything, Joey has to go to 1 life in order to kill the Tarmogoyf, and he cannot attack you back for lethal unless he has Lightning Bolt, his 3rd one.
Right.
So yeah, I think this alpha attack seems fine.
Yeah, I definitely like that. hard to hold back again against the red deck with Lightning Bolt. Now, Joey.
I think if I'm Joey, this is a tough spot. It might be just correct to go to 1 and hope to draw that Lightning Bolt.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, even though he only has 2 left, he's not going to win this game if he does anything differently here. And I think he agrees with you.
He can go to, yeah, okay. So I say there's like going to 2 to kill off 2 Nimble Mongoose just seems way worse.
Right. Because then it's just an Insectile Aberration versus a Tarmogoyf.
Yeah. And Delver's Secrets is good, but he's not that good. Brainstorm. Oh, we tapped our Volcanic Island. I can't imagine why we would want to do that. I suppose if he already has a green creature in his hand, that makes sense. Like another Nimble Mongoose, then he can attack for 3 and play the second Nimble Mongoose, and that position's favorable.
Right, but he definitely doesn't because he would have played it last turn. Brainstorm clearly just drawn.
Oh, that's fair. You're right.
Pretty sure the last card in his hand was either Stifle or Land. Nothing else really makes sense.
In that case, it was actually pretty much the same thing because he has 2 Nimble Mongoose left in his deck and 2 Lightning Bolts.
Right.
But he also has a Fire and Ice, which is mostly irrelevant since Ryan will only be vulnerable to it if he cracks that Polluted Delta.
Yes. So life totals are 6-1 in Ryan Forsberg's favor, but he's on the back foot. He needs to find a spell here.
Yeah. Found Force of Will, and I think a Ghastly Demise just... I thought I saw black. He's shuffling that away, so that seems...
Nope, must have
like
been a Thoughtseize.
It was not a Ghastly Demise, and probably, yeah. Thoughtseize, maybe a Dismember, certainly not anything else.
Sure. So Ryan Forsberg needs a removal spell here. Needs something, needs a creature, needs a Tarmogoyf. Any of these will be good. But he knows Joey has a Force of Will.
Yep.
Might have a blue card, he might not. Do you counter the Ponder if you're Joey, if you have a Force of Will and blue card?
Yeah, because Abrupt Decay is a card.
Yeah, I agree. Pesky Return to Ravnica cards, warping my format. So Ryan gets a card at random off the top of his deck. We'll see what it is. And Nimble Mongoose's trade. And Joey, 3 cards in hand to Ryan's 1. 3-2 Delver to Ryan's no creatures.
Wow. Oh, that's rough. Ryan needs a Tarmogoyf or a removal spell, and he doesn't have one. He draws a Thoughtseize. It's almost like he called it.
So Joey Andrews takes game 1. MythicMTG.com, Team Mythic over there, trying to lock up a spot in this top 8, trying to deny Ryan Forsberg his second top 8 in 2 days.
Yep. Looking at sideboard, I imagine those Thoughtseizes will leave. What do we got? We've got a lot of one-ofs in Ryan's sideboard. Some very interesting cards. He's clearly experimenting a little with the new set. Among those cards are the 4th Abrupt Decay, a 1 Golgari Charm. I actually might like the Golgari Charm in this matchup. Regenerating all of your creatures can be pretty good when you got Nimble Mongoose on Nimble Mongoose action.
Yeah, and I mean, you can also catch 1/1 Nimble Mongoose in a Delver. Yep. -1/-1, wrath your team.
Deathrite Shaman also seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah, for sure. He only has so many lightning bolts.
Yep. And beyond that, I imagine we won't be Engineered Plaguing because our opponent has the exact identical creatures that we do. Submerges are fine. We have 2 of those. Maybe a Diabolic Edict, maybe the Sylvan Library. It kind of depends on how you're going to build your deck as to whether you want any of these cards.
Right. It's hard to overload yourself with too much removal because Nimble Mongoose blanks it pretty well, and, well, you don't want to draw all removal spells while your opponent is digging through his deck.
Right. I think I can safely say that the Deathrite Shaman, the Abrupt Decay,
Sylvan Library.
Yeah, maybe. I'm honestly not sure how good Sylvan is in this matchup. I would want the Golgari Charm, especially if I haven't tested it yet.
Right.
Because how else am I going to get a cool story?
Playing for top 8 on camera with Golgari Charm in Legacy, he can't miss that.
Yeah, and as cards go, it's a pretty tough one to have to predict to be able to play around. Like,
yeah.
It's not like Joey's going to be thinking, well, what if he Golgari Charms right here? That would be bad.
Yeah, exactly. So we have an update from one of our other tables. Caleb Durward beat Jerry Thompson in game 1, and then they drew. Caleb offered the draw because he was almost definitely in with the draw. It gives Jerry an outside shot at the top 8.
Okay.
Looking to Joey's sideboard, he has 2 Grim Lavamancer. Those will certainly come in. He has 2 Tormod's Crypt, which are suspect. They're playable in the mirror, but I don't really like them.
No, I don't like them. Relic is significantly stronger, for the record. If you have Relic, I would bring those in.
Right.
Tormod's Crypt, not a fan.
Definitely not. Doesn't cycle, doesn't replace itself. And as we saw that game, so many of these games actually just come down to 1-for-1ing your opponent and whoever has the last threat. So he has 3 red Elemental Blast. What do you think of this card?
I think it's generally pretty good. I would probably be bringing it in here, mostly because I'm going to be aiming at Ponders and Brainstorms. My opponent's going to be digging to try and kill my creatures that he can, and I think post-board it looks like Ryan's deck is a little better suited to the Nimble Mongoose fight with his access to things like Golgari Charm and Deathrite Shaman. So
that makes sense. How about the 3 Submerge? Is that just an auto-include all 3?
No, it's tough to say. I'm unsure about how Abrupt Decay changes the attrition nature of the matchup. Because when you know your opponent has a for sure removal spell, boarding in yours that are like pretty good, but admittedly a little conditional. Like Submerge is obviously one of the best sideboard cards in Legacy, but at the same time, it's not always a removal spell, and this is a matchup where you really need to kill a Tarmogoyf. Like, it has to disappear.
At the exact moment you need it to, also. So yeah, I mean, maybe some number of Submerge, probably not all 3, maybe 1 or 2.
I think 2 sounds like a good number. It's possible that Joey will go for all 3. Keep in mind that he really does need to get rid of his opponent's Tarmogoyfs. They will be one of the cards that can punish him if he doesn't have creatures. And Nimble Mongoose is really the only creature he can reliably count on, because Ghastly Demise and Abrupt Decay give Ryan much better answers to creatures than Joey himself has.
Right. The flip side of that, though, is that Joey can just go to the Dome with the burn once the creatures are stopped.
Yep.
So if you're Ryan Forsberg, you definitely want Stifle on the play, correct?
Sure, that sounds fine.
But if you're Joey Andrews, do you want it on the draw?
He does have to take into account Ryan's got things like these Abrupt Decays that can be like a little expensive. I know it sounds ridiculous, but 2 mana, not always the easiest to get to if you get stifled. I don't think I want it though if I'm Joey. I think there's a temptation to try and get your opponent with a Wasteland and then a Stifle or something like that, but it's not going to happen often enough. And I imagine that each player will be hoping to hit like relatively land-heavy hands in this matchup, to be honest, because that's how you survive those kinds of starts.
Right. Now both players should have 0 Force of Wills in their deck, right? Would you say that that's true? Or maybe like 1 to 2 Force of Wills in their deck?
Yeah, I generally don't like Force in the matchup, but I admittedly am not a super experienced Rug Delver or Bug Delver pilot for that matter.
Yeah, it's not my deck of choice, but I've certainly gotten beaten by it enough.
My experience with the deck was playing Travis Gibson's SCGDC winning list, dropping it in disgust the night before the tournament, and playing something much worse, but much more comfortable.
And much easier to play, that's for sure. So no turn 1 play for either player here. Not too surprising, both will be looking to play a little more cautiously.
Yep. It looks like there's a Thought Scour for Ryan Forsberg in his hand, a Ghastly Demise, a Brainstorm. Might be, is that a Tarmogoyf? No? Wasteland, sorry.
Wasteland.
Okay. I see Stifle, Brainstorm, Wasteland. Yeah. He's got a number of spells over there.
And he'll just ship it back. He's content to play the longer game with the Abrupt Decays in his deck. Of course, he doesn't want to take too much damage against the red Delver deck.
Grim Lavamancer is a pretty reasonable card.
Yep, could just immediately get Ghastly Demised. Ryan might save that for a Tarmogoyf, though. Yeah.
He may wait till his turn to avoid getting Spell Pierce, but I don't think I think he probably won't do that. I don't know. Mana is, it's a hot commodity in the matchup.
Yeah, he probably doesn't actually care that much if he gets Spell Pierced. His deck has a lot of removal in it post-sideboard.
All right, he's going to Thought Scour. I like that play. Ooh, Mills is Sylvan. Looks like he drew a Nimble Mongoose. That's pretty good.
Yeah, very good. 3 cards away from Threshold.
I imagine we'll go like land, Ghastly Demise, and then Nimble Mongoose with our fetch land still up. Or no, we have to correct the fetch land and play the Nimble. We don't have another land.
Yeah, we only have 2 Wastelands here.
No, that's a Wasteland and Abrupt Decay.
Oh, Wasteland Abrupt Decay. Okay.
I believe. Could be a Golgari Charm.
I made that mistake
I think
in
that's
Standard.
An Abrupt Decay.
Yeah, looks like it. So fetch land cracked for no value, but Ryan Forsberg doesn't have much of a choice.
Knowing whether you're going to get this land or not probably is pretty important to the rest of your turn as well. If your opponent stifles the fetch, you'll have to reevaluate what you're doing.
Right. So if you're just joining us, I'm Zach Call, my co-commentator here, Glenn Jones. We're coming to you live from the last round of Legacy, round 8 of 8. This match is for top 8. Only one of these players can make it. Joey Andrews won the first game playing Rug Delver versus Ryan Forsberg playing Bug Delver. And yeah, he does end up dropping that Nimble. Yep. Only a 1-1 right now, but very, very close to threshold. Wasteland can put him to 6, and then the next spell he plays puts him to 7. So that Nimble should be swinging next turn. And Joey Andrews thinks about attacking with his Grim, decides not to, and just plays Delver and says go.
I think I would attack with the Grim. I'm like never trading a Nimble here, right? Like Nimble Mongoose is one of the best cards.
Yeah, definitely better than Grim Lavamancer.
If I'm the deck with all the Abrupt Decays and Ghastly Demises that can kill every other non-Nimble Mongoose creature, then each of my Nimble Mongooses is worth, at minimum, one of my opponents.
Right.
So
usually more.
Yeah.
So Ryan Forsberg looks like Brainstorm, Abrupt Decay, Ghastly Demise, Stifle, and a couple cards we can't quite make out. Trying to decide best how to play around the Spell Pierce's Daze, Force of Wills from his opponent. Also likely Red Elemental Blast. And looks like he decides on Brainstorm. Tapping his black mana, so he's indicating with that he doesn't particularly care about either creature this turn. He's not committed to Ghastly Demising them yet. So Tarmogoyf, another Stifle, drawn from Ryan. I have to imagine he'll be putting back at least one Stifle here, unless he's on the LD plan. And yep, one Stifle, I believe it was Stifle and not quite sure put back.
Yeah. I definitely want access to a Stifle here because it's keeping my opponent from being able to get a Tropical Island.
Right, exactly. I think you want one. The reason you don't want two is because Joey could just randomly draw a Tropical Island and then you just have a Stifle in your hand.
One of the amusing aspects... Oh, he blew that Wasteland. I don't really like blowing the Wasteland here. I was actually about to comment on... while you have a Wasteland in play, your opponent can't do some tricks like Scalding Tarn for Tropical before they draw after Brainstorming, something like that, because they'll be exposing their Tropical Island during their draw step before they can use it to cast one of their sweet green creatures.
Right. Now, the reason Ryan actually did that is because it did grow his Nimble Mongoose. It did make it a 3/3, but
he got an extra damage.
Still, not so sure about it. The Scalding Tarn sitting there really indicates to me that Joey doesn't have another green source.
Yeah. Well, we've got a flipped Delver, which means we are actually reasonably racing in the situation.
Yep. And even though Joey only has one card in his graveyard, the Grim Lavamancer is always a threat. And I'm really surprised he didn't attack with it there.
Yeah. I don't think we're realistically planning to be shocking at this juncture.
No.
Especially because our opponent has nothing to shock. Stifle, Spell Pierced up. Well, he does have Spell Pierces still in his deck, which I think we assumed was true, but it's nice to get the confirmation.
Definitely. And there is that Tropical Island. If Joey plays a Nimble, though, it can't block, as it's just a 1/1 compared to Ryan Forsberg's 3/3. Joey has 1, 2, I believe it's 4 cards in his graveyard now.
One way or another, Joey's going to be stuck with the Mons Goblin Raiders because either his Nimble Mongoose won't grow or his Grim Lavamancer, isn't doing anything.
Yeah.
So.
And I think I saw a Life from the Loam in Joey's hand.
Life from the Loam, really?
Yeah, that's definitely a Life from the Loam. He has one in his sideboard and he brought it in.
That's a good card in the mirror.
Only some mirror games, though.
Yep, there are definitely games where you just can't afford to do it. Some of those games are the ones where you're getting beat about the face with a Nimble Mongoose.
Yeah. Got a common problem in Legacy. So, yeah, easy attack for Ryan here.
Yep.
13-15 are the life totals.
Another goose on the loose.
Wow. The Goose is a big game.
Yep. I'm pretty sure we want to ghastly demise that aberration. We probably want to do it during Joey's upkeep, though, in case he has another spell pierce.
Right. Make him tap 1 on his turn.
Yep.
Oh, or in
we could do
response
it
to
now.
this spell.
Yep. That's also good. Get him! Get him!
Come on, Ryan, you can do it.
Get him! Just get him!
Would you say getting him is your favorite activity in Magic?
I do love to get them.
Oh, yeah. The stranger the spell, the better.
Ghastly Demise, a very efficient way to kill an insectile aberration. Oh, the days.
Will be dazed, though, and, you know, that does set Joey back on mana a little bit.
It's not too bad.
Oh, Goose Milled and a Wasteland. So Joey Adams, 3 Gooses left in the deck. He really needs to find one of those or a Tarmogoyf to just hold off these Nimble Mongooses.
Ryan has been a little mana light in this game, and it has cost him with losing a spell to Daze and Spell Pierce each.
Now, I know this is pretty much personal preference, but what do you think? Goose or geese? Nimble Mongooses or Nimble Mongooses?
I like gooses. It sounds sillier. I'm a silly guy. Plus, it's much harder to rhyme things with geese.
That's true. You'd have to say, like, meese.
Or like some kind of lease joke, but that's like really reaching, I expect.
Right.
There's not a lot of housing in Odyssey, I assume. Seems like a bit wildernessy.
Yeah. I mean, you can move to Time Spiral, do like cockatrice, Nimble Mongoose. But anyways, back to the match at hand. Ryan Forsberg swinging in for 6. Joey Andrews almost definitely has to trade this here, I think.
I would be excited to.
Yeah. I see no reason not to block here.
We're ahead in the race. The only way to get behind in the race is to let things like this get us low.
Right. But that's exactly what he's going to do. He'll go to 7.
Once he goes to 7, now Ryan's Abrupt Decay on Insectile Aberration is going to look really sweet. I can't imagine him having a better line unless he drew something pretty spectacular.
Right. It would have to be something like another Goose plus a Ghastly.
Tarmogoyf. That is pretty spectacular, although I don't know if I necessarily like it. If our opponent had something like Submerge here, we just turned it on, and our opponent hasn't been playing cards, right? Like, he's been mostly sitting.
Exactly. Tarmogoyf loses to Daze, Tarmogoyf loses to Submerge, Tarmogoyf loses to quite a few things. Ice. That pesky ice.
Yeah, if we get ice, we're in a bad spot.
Yeah, that Submerge is really, really good right now.
I think if we just Abrupt Decay that Delver, the race flips into our favor pretty heavily.
Yeah.
As it is, we're now actually being threatened with lethal next turn.
Yeah, especially from that Grim Lavamancer. Even if Ryan can stop the attack phase, he'll have to deal with the Grim Lavamancer.
That's the actual issue. We're going to get attacked by Nimble Mongoose to put us to 3 and 2 Grim Lavamancer activations, 1 in our end step, 1 on our own turn will actually kill us. So just Abrupt Decaying that Insectile Aberration is no longer good enough. In fact, unless Ryan's hand changes by drawing the same card he drew last turn, which seems unlikely, he'll be mostly dead here.
Well, clearly he has other plans. Maybe he thinks Joey's at 6.
Oh, his opponent blocks. Now, actually, he can survive.
Yeah, this is really strange.
He'll be dead to a Lightning Bolt, but... Interesting was that Joey made that block so fast, too.
Yeah, maybe there's something we're missing here. Maybe the life total is different.
Maybe. It's also possible if Joey just has a Lightning Bolt, I make this 100% of the time.
Sure.
I think I just saw one when he flashed his hand.
That makes sense.
So, yeah. That's probably just going to be all she wrote for Ryan. Yeah. Joey's goal is just to survive this turn.
And Ryan removes 2 instants, it looks like. It's not really going to matter, though, because Tarmogoyf will have no shortage of instants. And now Ryan Forsberg kind of in a bind here.
Well, I mean, he knows he's dead to Lightning Bolt, so if, like, thinking it over for him, the biggest payoff, I suppose, is from recasting the Goyf, because if Lightning Bolt's going to kill you anyway, this really only opens up another Submerge.
Right.
So this time he's going to decide to play around that other Submerge, which is awkward because there's one less than there was before.
And it looks like Joey just drew a second Lightning Bolt,
so Abrupt Decay, and then...
to your face.
Yep.
Oh, wow, that was a red Elemental Blast in his hand. He didn't even have a Lightning Bolt.
Aww.
So Joey Andrews draws the Lightning Bolt to secure the victory and secure the top 8. Congratulations, Joey.
Yeah. Well, that was a tough match. I think that if Ryan had Abrupt Decayed that insectile aberration on the previous turn, he probably would have walked away with the win there, right? Like,